It is a big idea, a new world order.
All the latest news and information about coronavirus.
Good evening. My name's James, and this is Plunder World, the greatest trading cards ever made. And I want to give everybody a big thank you that it came out to see me this past Saturday at the Nerd Yard Sale. It was a pretty good show. I made a lot of new fans and met some really smart and engaging people. And I think the second half of this little episode we'll go over some feedback in general and address a few other things. For anybody that just kind of stumbled onto this, I want to let you know that my name is James, and I am one guy, and I have been reading all kinds of parapolitics and crypto history since I was young. And thankfully, I had a good chunk of my family that was into this kind of stuff, and I made a set of cards out of it. And this is already up to Series 2, and Series 3 is on its way. And these are real trading cards. There's 279 in the entire series. I am sold out of Series 1, but those will be reprinted at some point as long as there's enough of a demand. And I'll probably freshen it up and add a few extra surprises because I hate things that are stale. But the way it works is that there's 90 subjects, and every subject has 3 different cards with a different part of the story on the back. And then there's also hard to find shiny cards, and that adds up to 279 total cards. And anybody that orders a box, I ship all kinds of neat goodies. People get stickers. And for people that might be a little hard of sight, I made these handy dandy magnification cards. And I usually include like a homemade prototype card for an upcoming series. So there's you never know what you're going to get. It's not just this one about Lionel Nathan Rothschild. I've got all kinds of neat little goodies that I give away. Business cards, all sorts of prototype cards. Anyways, enough of that. So we're going to go over a card for Series 3, and it is got to do with something that has popped up in recent years, at least since 2020, 2022, I believe. 2021 is when it was instigated in Europe, and some of you might know what this word means. And we'll go over here and check out this highlighted word, prebunking. Prebunking, it's just a snazzy word for a much broader intellectual concept called attitudinal inoculation. So what is, so we need a little context first, okay? So the big takeaway here is that there's this concept called attitudinal inoculation, and they use fittingly enough, they use the vaccine analogy, only it's for information or ideas. And this all began like in the early 60s, and so there was this college teacher named William McGuire, and he had this thing called an inoculation theory. And the way it works is that if somebody has an established point of view or opinion about a topic or belief, then if you can reinforce that belief if they're exposed to a weaker counter argument. It's kind of like it plants a seed, so it prepares them for more difficult arguments that they might have to debate or encounter. He also noticed something interesting too when he tested this theory out, is that regardless of whether or not people's minds changed or whatever, the more interesting thing is that most of them had to go and share their experience with their peers, as if it was kind of like double checking their opinion with other like-minded people, and that also helped to reinforce their opinion. Okay, so that's the 60s. So what does this have to do with today? Well, that's what we need to talk about prebunking. Now, prebunking, we'll just read a little short. I think I specifically chose this article. Misinformation and disinformation, both prebunking and debunking, work for fighting it. And there are a few patterns that we're going to have to recognize as we go along. And from this article, right out of the gate, the first sentence, its climate change denying sort can make taking much needed action against global warming more difficult. It could be even deadly, for example, if it encourages refusing vaccines against fatal diseases. Now that's an odd pair of examples to talk about misinformation. By the way, I should have read that first sentence. Misinformation, incorrect or false information shared unintentionally can be extremely damaging. It can also skew elections. I think there's a bias creeping into this. Okay, so how do we fix this? This is a big problem. They see, in an innovative manner, the study's authors also found that debunking has a slight edge over prebunking. And I'm skipping around here. This is going to make a little more sense once we get into some more research. So what they want to do is they want to counter misinformation. And this article kind of introduces us to the word prebunking. The key takeaway from this article is the first two examples, okay? Third, if you count the elections. All right. And let me find my other article here. Ooh, that's for later. And okay, now I want you to pay attention to, let me blow this up a little more. I want you to pay attention to this word right here, jigsaw. Excuse me, I got the sniffles. 7 insights from interviewing conspiracy theory believers. I'm going to tie these threads together. I'm going to try at least. Okay. So there was a study here, okay? This is back in 2021. And let's see, from claims that the earth is flat to the viral rumors that SARS-CoV-2 was designed as a biological weapon, a new wave of conspiracy theories are gaining traction and prominence. Conspiracy theories themselves are nothing new, but these latest theories represent the newest iterations of a pattern of thinking that has been demonstrated by examples in history and current events, has the potential to motivate people to violence. Okay, right out of the gate, I gotta stop saying that. They're connecting these two. This is the false equivalency, a pattern of thinking that motivate people to violence. This is written deliberately, okay? This article is not aimed at people like us, but just think of parents and teachers and other people that decide on policy. So we partnered with a team of anthropologists from Red Associates to study the common features and beliefs of people who subscribe to conspiracy theories. Okay, so let me condense a lot of this down, is that they are interviewing people that believe in funny little, what they call conspiracy theories, and they're trying to see what the patterns are. Okay, now, another, I don't know if this is a pattern, but see, bear with me as I point this out. So they've had people respond to these questions, and some of these examples state, respondents were asked, to the best of your knowledge, please indicate whether you believe each of the statements below are true or false. And in brackets, they say all statements are false. Okay, well, what are these statements? The majority of protests that occurred this summer were violent. Okay, well, I suppose that could be false. It depends on which protests you were looking at during that particular summer. By the way, 47% said there were. COVID-19 was created in a lab in China. Okay, they're saying that this statement is false. Well, we have evidence to the contrary. Satan-worshipping elites who run a child sex ring are trying to control our politics and media. Okay, well, that's a little sensationally worded. But 47 said no. Humans do not play a significant role in climate change. And 69 said false. That's interesting. Several mass shootings in recent years were staged hoaxes. Several were staged hoaxes. Well, that's difficult. What do they define as a hoax? All right, I don't want to dwell too much on that. But some of these I would say are completely true. Okay? All right. So what I wanted to get to here is they have this handy-dandy chart, the common architecture of conspiracy theories. So through these examples, let's say we have chemtrails, white genocide, QAnon, flat Earth. And they're trying to just lump everybody into categories that talk about what the group that they're upset or they blame actually is. And I don't know if you can condense a lot of what people think into a consensus. This isn't like asking a bunch of lawyers their opinion about a certain law or a bunch of judges on how to rule. Let me just transition back here. All right, I know I'm going to tie this all back to prebunking, but it's important to understand all this context to see what actually happened and why you probably experienced it. So this idea of consensus or trying to establish a pattern in the way people think. The reason this, I'll just spoil it right now. So earlier at the top of this article, there was the word jigsaw. Well, Jigsaw is actually a digital service run by Google, and it uses artificial intelligence, and it ingests a whole bunch of research data, and it tries to target and pinpoint and classify misinformation. Now, it is arbitrary up to the situation, the programmers, and people in control of that piece of Jigsaw to decide what is misinformation. And so what Jigsaw does is it creates social media posts, it can create scripts, or it can aid producers into making actual short-form video content that goes on social media websites, and it adds one of these inoculating messages. And there's some details as to what those messages actually are. The good news is that it's aimed at people with very short attention spans. We're talking about a very, sadly, large audience that will read a headline, if that, or get somebody else's opinion about a subject to make their mind up. So they're very malleable, and they don't read. That's the good news. The bad news is it's a lot of people, and that's got to change. And changing those bad habits is that's half of the effort. That's why context matters. Especially when you're trying to have an opinion about something as big as, a medical decision that might severely alter your life. Okay, anyways. Let's get back to this. There's not too much of this. I just have to jump to a bunch of articles just so I can get through this. So I won't spend too much time on these examples. You could find this easily. Jigsaw publishes all of these papers on their own website. Source, Jigsaw. There it is. Patterns. I think it's in a different article. I'll save that for later. All right, so there's another Jigsaw article from 2021. When Jigsaw researchers met Jennifer in a Montana cafe, she explained how she came to believe that the Earth was flat. For the past few years, Jennifer had become immersed in conspiracy theories that eventually became a significant part of our identity and life. Identity and life. She renounced her relationship with her parents, who are regular NPR listeners. Now, those two things aren't the same. Doesn't tell you why. Or maybe her parents had a problem. I don't know. To be closer to other people who believe the same conspiracy theories. She even met her boyfriend on a dating site marketed to truthers. Jennifer's devotion to conspiracy theories was mirrored in other conspiracy adherents we met, which highlights a challenge for those of us studying ways to make more resilient to misinformation. By the time we met Jennifer, her beliefs were so deeply held that she wasn't open to receiving any information that undermined her beliefs. Let's see. This article, I believe, is... okay. So, attitudinal inoculation. Here is the key. And I think we actually get a couple of names that are... All right. Given the difficulty of dislodging beliefs based on misinformation, there is a growing field of research into helping people resist persuasion by misinformation in the first place. One approach borrows from biomedical science. Inoculation protects people against disinformation by teaching them to spot and refute a misleading claim. Inoculation messages can build up people's resistance or mental antibodies to encountering misinformation in the future, the way vaccines create antibodies that fight against future infection. Okay, so the way they just simply explain it here with this handy-dandy chart for us dummies is attitudinal inoculation. Number 1, introduce an emotional warning about misinformation. An emotional warning. I don't know. Could that be like some disturbing B-roll of a child, a sad parent, a lonely person in a corner, dark colors, eerie music? Number 2, equip users to spot and refute the attack. And number 3, if misinfo appears again, users can identify it as misinfo. For example, an inoculation message could warn people that they are likely to see anti-vaccine messages from fake experts, because this is a common tactic used to mislead people about the legitimacy of their claims. I like how they use that example, fake experts. Okay, now I cannot help myself. I have to put this on the record, and I'm not the first person to make this point. Every single argument they're using for these hypotheticals can immediately be flipped around on the other side. In other words, all the true good news and information that they believe people should research into and take in order to make informed decisions, all of that could be attacked using the same reasoning that they're presenting. So when they talk about fake experts, you mean to tell me that somebody like, Bill Gates, who is not a doctor, he's just a rich nerd, and he gets to be on CNBC, he gets to be on a lot of panel shows, and he happens to be pushing and urging people to get one of these COVID gene therapy shots. Oh, you mean that kind of fake expert? You mean that's somebody who's, pretending, like they're, more knowledgeable than they really are? You mean somebody that maybe has a financial interest? Okay. As we go along, I can't help it. I got to point these out. All right. So, inoculation against extremism. Okay, here we got a name. Okay. In one foundational study of inoculation against extremism, researcher Kurt Braddock tested whether participants could be inoculated against far-right and far-left extremist propaganda. Participants who read a text-based inoculation message prior to seeing an extremist propaganda post were less willing to support the extremist group and had lower perceptions of the extremist group's credibility relative to a control group that hadn't been inoculated. In early 2020, Jigsaw partnered with Braddock and the Polarization and Extremism Research Innovation Lab at American University to follow up research to explore the effects of video-based inoculation against common extremist narratives online. And I happen to have that study, because I have a long attention span. So, let's see if I can't. There we go. Here's the study right here. Testing the efficacy of attitudinal inoculation videos to enhance COVID-19 vaccine acceptance. Quasi-experimental intervention trial. Kurt Braddock. Now, this is not the study about extremism, but later he partnered up with these other researchers to test attitudinal inoculation on the gene shot. I know we spent a lot of time on something that happened almost 5 years ago, but I mean, this is for us old timers, we're kind of beaten down with so many things that have gone on in the past. But to anybody who's younger and listening to this, anybody that had to go through high school that's listening to this, this is your first experience of massive propaganda, massive fraud, massive abuse, stomping of your God-given rights. This is your first experience, okay? And there's going to be more. There is. They're all around you. They've been in the past. They've been going on for decades. And like I said, for us old-timers, I'm not saying we're used to this. It's just we're always constantly amazed at what gets pulled off or what gets pushed out there to just run over us like a steamroller every single time. Okay. All right. So they got a bunch of people together, and they were going to prepare a bunch of videos that there were three kinds. One focused on narrative and rhetorical. All that means is getting into your emotions. The other one was about fact-based information, just straight up. Here's some details that should dispel any information that you believe that is deemed false. And then there's a hybrid design. All right, I'm not going to go through this entire paper. I've already done that a couple of times, as you can see. Something that should be pointed out, though, is that factual information can be hard to determine, and initial reports and decisions are made based on the best information available at any given time. And that's it. What the subtext here is narrative control. Regardless of whether the information is accurate, what matters is who's in control of the narrative. Don't just think that they want to give you the best information. Don't just think they want to give you the accurate information. They want control of the narrative. Let's see. Down here. However, fact-checking carries with it two challenges: asymmetry and volume. Feelings of social ostracism are shown to decrease receptivity to counter disinformation fact-checking. So anybody that might, basically they're saying that anybody that might believe something deemed as misinformation, if they change their mind and they try to present it with their peers, then they might feel ostracized. Like they're kicked out of the group. Like, hey man, you don't believe in that? Well, we don't want to be around you no more. Okay. Yeah, vaccine hesitancy. Okay, so what are we getting at? What I'm more interested in is the results. Okay. So here's a description of the video types. So under narrative and rhetoric inoculation, purpose: inoculate viewers against vaccine misinformation strategies such as manipulation, scapegoating, or conspiratorial reasoning. Example of video script: sometimes people trying to change your mind this way will show pictures of needles, crying babies, or extreme close-ups of viruses. Sometimes they'll make videos with sounds that are scientifically proven to provoke a feeling of unease in humans. Strange, but true. Oh. Which is exactly what okay. I gotta say my piece. So that's exactly what every single news anchor was doing by saying that anybody that doesn't get this, they deserve to die. I hope you lose your rights. We had Arnold Schwarzenegger saying, screw your rights, or screw your freedoms. Bands wouldn't let people attend their concerts without it. People were losing their jobs. Forget just the narratives of a video. How about the experiences and the artificial reality created right in front of us when we walked out our door? Again, going back to the people who might be watching this, if you went through high school during this, even college, you know what I'm talking about. And if this was your first experience going through something like this, then pay attention, because all of this information is stored. All of these tactics they're not forgotten. They're just adapted for future usage. And let's see. So factual rebuttal inoculation. Purpose: counter false information about science and safety about vaccines. So what's their factual version? Sometimes these people talk about vaccine injury. Actual injuries related to vaccines are extremely rare. Only 2 out of every 1 million people who receive vaccine results even claim to have been injured. Of those claims, about a third turned out not to be actual injuries related to vaccines. So here's another pattern that we have to point out with these. Let me back up. These are examples of pre-bunk posts, pre-bunk videos, and it won't be just videos. They will be text-based. They'll use graphics. They'll use banners. They'll use every advertising trick in the world to get you to think you're watching some sort of message that's not only aimed at you, but aimed at your group or your age or your demographic. This is the essence of a pre-bunk, and it leaves out a ton of context, and it uses a whole bunch of logical fallacies. So the initial point of this research was to target people who avoided the COVID gene therapy shot or had doubts about it. And so what are they lumping into the fact-based argument? Well, they're bringing in everything about vaccine research. No. You can't do that if you're claiming to be fact-based. It's how many people are objecting to it just because it was untested, or just because the ingredient list was not available, or just because their children were at the lowest risk population, and yet there was mandates for them to get it just to attend school. I know that was the case in California. I know that was the case in other states and definitely other countries. And this was before, maybe around the first or second booster. That's before we even knew there was going to be a booster. And that's just concerns with that one shot. But the researchers are lumping in all vaccine skepticism into one group. You see that trick? Good. I hope so. And all right. What I'm interested in, there's a chart here that shows a bit of a change in attitude, but it's very small. It's very slight. And some of these numbers are a little difficult to understand. The point is, it is less than 5% of the people were swayed or willing to vaccinate, but there was enough of a difference. So why are they spending all this research on? Why are they spending all this research on just maybe a 5 to 10% shift? Okay. Well, it's because you have a telephone effect. Remember, we were talking earlier about the inoculation theory itself, and the immediate thing that people tend to do is they spread it among their peer groups, whether it's in person at the coffee shop or at the dinner table. But even more rewarding, at least for the people that won't control the narrative, is these people will share that information online. And if only 5 or 10% of them do it, then that's still enough. It's kind of like advertising. You know, you're going to spend a whole bunch of money, and you want your cost per impression to be worth it, because the majority of people are not going to respond. The majority of people are going to ignore it or forget it or not care. All you're looking for is, I mean, you're lucky if you're getting a 5 to 10% return on your advertising, which I think I know, I know a little bit about. Okay, I'm still trying to figure that out too. That's kind of what this video is, advertising. All right. Okay, so that brings us to a practical guide to prebunking misinformation. And this is a long little how-to guide, and it's aimed directly at Europe because Europe has implemented this to the extreme in cooperation with Jigsaw. Let's see. Nice handy table of contents. Why prebunking? How to prebunk. The landscape. Let's see. Okay, this chart is hilarious. So the top perceived global threats by Pew Research. To the left is a major threat. To the right is a minor threat. So right out of the gate, the top one is global climate change. Gee, remember that pattern I was talking about earlier? And then what do we have? Number 2, spread of false information online. Okay, I agree that there is some false information being spread online, but the very people that want to be in control of the narrative happen to be spreading information that is false. And they know it, because it's used to manipulate you into deciding, what to eat, where to live, what to do with your children, who to hang out with, what to think. It's not so much, the old adage is that, the job of an educator is to teach people how to think, not what to think. But then I think I've heard that the news doesn't tell you what to think. It tells you what to talk about. I think that's how that goes. When there's something big in the news cycle, it doesn't matter what's going on. Everybody's talking about it. I find that interesting. Media tends to... It's not that media is necessarily telling you what to think about a subject, but it's definitely telling you what to talk about. And that's definitely true in circles of people that would be into the kind of cards that I make. I've been thinking a lot about that myself, and that I don't know if that's a new or an old strategy, but it's not a distraction. It's just that everybody wants to get educated about something as soon as it happens. I'm going to keep any current news topics out of this just for the sake of future-proofing it. But pick any week, pick any month, and you can almost guarantee that any news organization, any alternative news organization, they're talking about that one hot topic that is going on that week with their own different hot takes, pouring over documents, testimonies, videos, history, whatever. And that's not a bad thing necessarily. It's just, what else is going on? Okay? It's the whole, everybody's paying attention to the right hand while they don't know what the left hand is doing. I don't know. I'm not saying that's deliberate, but there's something to be said about that. And prebunking can aid in that. And that's kind of what I want to get at with something else. So Jigsaw doesn't just make prebunking aimed at misinformation. Okay? This idea of attitudinal inoculation can also be used to manipulate how people feel about shared interests. And I thought this was very interesting because we're jumping ahead about 4 years on the Jigsaw timeline to 2025, and we're talking about Bowling Green, Kentucky. Now, the planning committee at Bowling Green, they have a big ambitious plan coming up for 2050. And so they wanted the opinion of their citizens about what they expect in the next 25 years. And so during the month-long What Could BGB conversation, Bowling Green, ideas were submitted on the website via the the deliberative tech platform Polis, with a simple open-ended prompt asking what participants wanted to see in their community over the next 25 years. Nearly 8,000 people shared their thoughts, submitting thousands of unique ideas that fellow community members weighed in on over 1 million times. Okay, seems very innocuous. So, we need some technology to help process all this information, right? We have to justify the existence of it. So as the large-scale conversation concluded, the organizers... Wait, I did that again. Dadgummit. I have a bad habit of doing that. Okay, let me back up. So this is what I was reading. Okay, during the month-long What Could Bowling Green Be conversation. And this is what nearly 8,000 people shared their responses. And going back up, this is the article from Jigsaw in 2025 talking about Bowling Green, Kentucky. All right. Sorry about that. So as the large-scale conversation concluded, the organizers, Bowling Green-based strategy firm Innovation Engine, utilized SenseMaker, an AI offering developed by Jigsaw that categorized the ideas submitted into topics and subtopics and summarized the overall findings into a report. Okay, so what's the big deal? So they condensed all of these topics and ideas, okay? And they narrowed them down using artificial intelligence into smaller topics, and they looked for big concentric patterns and ideas or suggestions that had nothing really in common with others were so low rated that they were not even included in future iterations. So what they did is they narrowed the conversation into something like, for example, education. Now, what's interesting about education is that this is a very, very corrupt field, especially when you're dealing with grant money, federal money, state money, contracts, unions, but every parent wants good education for their kids. So it's a black hole of money that everybody can collect as it's slipping through the pipe. And that is what gets pushed to the top. Now, why is that important? What does that have to do with attitudinal inoculation? Well, as this survey is going on, then when there is community community feedback about these topics, results are nudging people into focusing more on the bigger topics like education, infrastructure, and transportation. I mean, a lot of this is common sense, but what you're in essence doing is you're inoculating people against having other ideas outside of the box. It's literally, it's literally on the infographic. I like how it says other two ideas. That's funny. I wonder what those other two ideas were. I think we need a bowling alley, Fred. Oh, what about you? Well, I think we should make oranges our official city fruit. Well, we're kicking those out. Okay, I think I get the point, James. All right, so that's what a pre-bunk is, and that is going to be a card for Series 3. And what I did to make that is I got some old padlocks, combination locks, key locks, and there's this really neat trick. And it's pretty simple. You just need a little hydrogen peroxide, some vinegar, and some salt, and you can add your own fake rusty patina to almost anything metallic. It's pretty cool. And so make yourself an aged lock, and then I really ump it up that contrast and just making it look nasty. And then that's eventually what is going to be on the card for pre-bunking. They're trying to unlock those rusty, hard to change minds. I think that metaphor is pretty clear. All right. That's Prebunking for Series 3. So we're going to take a little break, and then I'll be back to go over a little bit of feedback. All right? See you soon.
Oh, Peter, what are you doing here? School's over.
Sorry to bug you, Miss Gray. I just had to ask why we were learning about the United Nations today.
It's part of the curriculum. Besides, the United Nations is how the world deals with problems.
But their peacekeepers hurt a lot of people and many members are corrupted.
Where did you hear that, Peter?
I looked up information from human rights organizations and saw corruption inquiries.
Wow, how did you find that?
Plunder World Cards, Miss Gray. Card number 78 has all kinds of information that you never taught us in class.
Peter, how could I know that? I have to go by the curriculum. Just shut up, you little bastard. You know how much of your shit I have to put up with every day? Just 8 more years of this hell and I can retire. I really don't care what you learn or how you turn out.
You're a total bitch, Miss Gray. You need Plunder World.
And we're back. Thanks for putting up with that. So now I'd like to get into a little bit of feedback. And this is going to be kind of a big catch-up because I've failed to do this. I'm one guy. And I really think I need to thank a bunch of people. And anybody that wants to send me a message, anybody that completes one of my surveys when they get a box, please do it. Because I do go over it. I do read it. I do care. And it's near and dear to me to the point where I think, excuse me, let me vamp for a little bit and pull this up. But yeah, I'll read it. I'll share it. If it's a video, if it's an unboxing, if it's anything. Well, I'll even share some of the negative stuff too. Excuse me. Feedback is feedback, okay? And it's very important to me. And I do honestly try to incorporate as much as I can in every single one of my series of cards. So, there we go. So, like every box that ships, in the letter, there is a questionnaire for trading cards, and so I get responses, and they're simple little surveys that help me figure out if people appreciate them. And I don't get a lot of these forms completed. I get it. You just want your cards, and if you keep buying them, that's great. And then, but I take it to heart. And so what I'm going to try to do is also thank a few people here. So if you go to Plunder World on YouTube, it's pretty small, but I do collect people that do unboxings and give their opinion. And there's also appearances where I'm a guest on some shows. And then, so right out of the gate, let me see if I can make this work. I'm going to try to play this audio here from Bizarre Reality Media. And Inquiries of Our Reality had me on as a guest. And I thought it was a very wonderful show. So let's see if this plays.
For today, considering that I had James Price on, and he was kind enough to send me a package of some of his Plunder World cards. And for anybody that didn't listen to that episode, definitely recommend going back and checking it out. And with that, there's even a little extra thing at the end where he gives away a free pack of his cards, but you guys have to answer the trivia question. So definitely go back and check that out. But he was kind enough to send me a box of some of his cards, so I figured that I would open some of them up and show you guys some of the cards that he has here, and do some of the packages and give him a big thank you for all this stuff. So first and foremost, he ended up sending me a couple of cards that were not in a pack from Series 2. And with that one, I got this North American Union card. I got this card over here for Series 2. And he was also kind enough to send me a couple of these awesome Plunder World stickers.
Okay, Plunder World, whatever. Okay, so, all right. So that was a fun show, and he is correct. So when I do appear as a guest, a lot of times I will open a pack of cards on camera and ask people to answer a trivia question. The first one that does, I'll mail them the cards. So it's worth checking out. Unfortunately, that pack has already been given away. I do definitely want to thank this channel, Wake of Truth.
Hey, how's it going? So, as promised, the unboxing video. Got my son here with me.
Very thorough.
Underworld. Yeah.
Yeah, I got his son in it.
Excited too. All right. So, we got this greetings letter. You're truly special. Cannot thank you enough for your patience, support, and appreciation for this endeavor. I'm not going to read the whole thing, obviously, but I will be reading this later. All right. And here are the cards.
So that was from Series 1, and then he did a follow-up review where he is...
How is it going, everybody?
Going over all the cards.
There's not a game based around them. They are just actual old-school trading cards. Here, let's find one that's not all torn up so I can kind of read some of the back of this. It's like
he's got piles of them.
That is going on now. He said they are selling out, and
yeah, Series 1 sold out. I would highly recommend checking out that channel. This man has a ton of extras, so if anybody's trying to trade and get a full set, reach out. He's trading like crazy. He's got plenty. And then there is a sweetest review through Crypt Tidbits. And
so I usually do not go live on a random Friday night. It's a Friday night, right? But we're going to do this tonight after I laughing to myself. So I kind of was just like, you know what? Random live stream, random Friday night. Like I said, nothing set up. I just wanted to do this. I wanted to let the...
Yeah, she is a super fan. Thank you very much, Jessica. She has... in fact, I think she's the one who actually won the pack of cards from Bizarre Reality and instantly ordered a box of Series 1. I'm very, very happy that she is happy. And then we have, let's see. We have a gentleman here in Canada. Canada loves me. And this is a very interesting fella. D's Laughs on Instagram. He's a comedian, and he's also a recording artist. And he made a music video, and I think it actually got played on the No Agenda show as one of their closing songs.
Online by design is meant to spin you up. MK Ultra yourself and lose your mind. Find Project Monarch and that butterfly design. Seeing butterfly tattoos have been on my mind. Operation Bluebeam, Long Leash Moses and the paperclip. Mockingbird, Gladio, Condor, Stargate. I mean, that's just a tip. Dr. Ewan, Cameron, and McGill. Another sign you're listening to a spooky show chill. Back to Shannon, OKC, KFC, UFC, TFC. Don't forget that they want to bring in an online currency in the form of a CBDC. My guess is the USDC. All I want is BTC. History rhymes most of the time, and I'm just trying to give you clues and remind myself at the same time. Don't listen to that much music anymore, but reading books and podcasting when done well. Plunder World, so much more, so much more. Yo, mean, get these trading cards, and Plunder World is so much more. Yeah, shout out to the Plunder World store. Not everything online by design is meant to spin you.
Man, that's pretty cool, okay? Gotta say, that really warmed my heart. And to add to that, let's see here. If I go back to...
How is it going, everybody?
I don't have many people following me.
I said I was going...
But that's okay.
If you're a man, you don't cry about it.
These Last was recently on a show up in Canada.
There's a better rapper for Phil.
And he is
cards or anything, but
sharing cards with his
pack of
buddies.
cards, and then you guys can keep the different ones. So they have they tell a story basically of
I do want to go back to the Venezuela thing for a quick sec because I'm the autistic political guy here. What you were saying, it touches on like a harsh reality about politics, which is like it's actually just about power.
Yeah, it's a pretty good show. They just sit around at a pub and chew the fat and talk funny and talk about what happened to them during the week and anything else that's current. But I got a big kick out of that. Thank you very much. And then there is some overall feedback that I just want to pass on. I don't have the messages pulled up in front of me. I want to make a point that Canada really, really has responded very warmly to these cards. I ship a lot of boxes to Canada. And I did get a message from a Canadian fan, and I'm going to paraphrase, but it came at the right moment because, to be honest, I'm small potatoes, okay? This is a hobby that I'm hoping can, be something significantly more because of the response in person when I do card shows here in Houston and other cities, but also online. And I want it to grow. We all want what we love to do to grow, and I'm no different. But I got this email from a gentleman that at a point where I was getting a little discouraged, and he said that it's important that this continues. It's important that that people have access to this kind of information. And the point of his message was that, and I thought it was very insightful, it's that a lot of, especially people in the States, they will talk about what their constitutional rights are. They'll talk about it, but they don't actually use them. They don't express them. They don't physically produce with them. And that might be sort of an abstraction, because how do you produce something about not quartering soldiers in your own home? How do you produce something based on your right to a right of protection from illegal searches and seizures? And so this abstraction is it might be a little limited, but the idea of expressing your First Amendment of expression and your freedom of speech in the form of a song or a piece of art or trading cards or a comic book or just anything, and that struck me as quite profound. And maybe I'm late to the party. Maybe that's something that some of you are hearing this and going, well, yeah, no kidding, man. What did you think that meant? Well, it's different when you're actually making something. It's different than when you're saying it. And it's more impactful when you actually see that there is a physical representation of it that people appreciate. You can have a conversation with somebody. You can give a speech. You might be good behind the mic and gather a large audience based on what your opinion is. But when you see an actual physical representation of somebody's freedom of expression and you appreciate it, there's a different kind of attachment you form to it, and it alludes to maybe the medium itself. I don't know. Anyways, I thought that was very profound. And so the other thing I want to go over is, hey, I just recently had a show I was at, and I thought it was a lot of fun. It was called the Nerd Yard Sale, and this these folks are great. I thought it was a very novel concept, and I just did a great show. It was not a huge turnout. There was a celebrity there, Kurt Angle, and but then let's see here. It was fun until we got to the guys selling conspiracy cards. They were just full of racism and Nazi propaganda. It's 2026. I thought we were better than this. So then instantly people are like, any pictures of the cards? Let's see. His name is on here. It's Plunder something. He's tagged in their story, and then they list my name, but they won't tag me. Okay, well, whatever. So the venue is like, yeah, we'll remove him. Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen though. They like me. Let's see, but thank you for taking this matter seriously. Community is so important right now, and we need to protect the most vulnerable. Can't wait for the next event. And then somebody else thanking them. Thank you. It really ruined the fun for a lot of us. I hope in the future you'll do background checks on the people you allow at your events. Jeez. Okay. I thought that was pretty funny. So I'm officially a racist Nazi. Okay, according to some SJWs who went to the show and were turned off by my cards without any context. Yeah, look, there are some spicy subjects, but eat it. I don't care. With that being said, I think that's going to do it for tonight. I'm not going to go ahead and review any other... Oh, wait. What am I doing? Hold on. I'm totally whiffing on this. There's some other people that I really want to go ahead and thank. If I don't, then... And if they see this, they're going to be really mad at me. I absolutely must thank... let's see here. I absolutely must thank this channel, The Treble Show. This gentleman, Trebles Garcia puts on a really, really entertaining show, and he has a lot of energy. Okay, this guy has the voice of like a super excited morning radio guy. He is full of energy. It's a short, quick show, and he punches it up, and he is a very positive individual, and I really like what he's doing. He even got Kent Hovind on as a guest, and I used to watch Kent Hovind videos years ago, so that's a great get. So yeah, thank you very much. I really appreciate your feedback. I really appreciate your support. And he runs with another crew that I would highly recommend. Whoops. I think my mouse might be dying. And if I could just find showing off everybody who's checking me out. I would definitely recommend White Rabbit Podcast, Bradley Hunt. This gentleman is an inspiration to anybody that is wrestling with doubts in their own mind about their abilities or their future. He is just all gas, no brakes, and he is the most honest and raw channel out there, and he does not hold back. And he is honest not only to his audience, but he's honest to himself. And that might sound vague, but give it a show or two, and you'll be addicted, okay? And you'll understand exactly what I'm talking about. And I definitely want to thank Number 6, who produces the New Prisoners show on Rumble. It is I don't know how to describe it. It's more of a channel than a show. A whole bunch of interesting personalities will get linked to his 24-hour stream on Rumble, and sometimes this show appears on there. And Number 6 TNP, you could find all the other fine people on there, like DJ Hayona, Tom, Zoe. There's so many people that appear on the New Prisoners channel, but Number 6 is a true gentleman. He is. I cannot thank him enough. There's going to be other appearances and whatnot in the future. I just feel like I'm forgetting more and more as we go on. But I will leave it at that. And then if any cross my mind, or if you can recommend some, or if some of you said, "Hey, dude, you forgot about me." Well, then let me know, okay? I'll get you in the next episode. In closing, I just want to refresh everybody with the main purpose, or the main reasons that inspired me to make these cards. So, the first thing is the Tuttle Twins. Connor Boyack made a set of books for children that teach little condensed lessons in volunteerism. And I was very inspired because I wish there was some other type of medium focused on that age group, maybe a little older, even in high school or young 20-somethings, because there's a dearth of it. And look, everybody streams. Everybody has YouTube channels. I think it's a little saturated, so that really helped me. And the second thing really was knowing what books to read and what to pay attention to. And Richard Grove at Grand Theft World inspired me to do that. I read, but it's like I read passively. And once you have the context and you understand the index and you can cross-reference, all of a sudden all those old books you have on your shelf that you read a while ago and maybe highlighted a page, all of a sudden they're more interesting and you start taking them off the shelf again. And Grand Theft World was a gigantic inspiration. And I hope that show grows to megalithic proportions. So that's all I have for tonight. And thank you very much. Please reach out to me, say hi, tell me anything. All right? I'm not a hermit, and I always reply. You have a good night. you.